Hello there, Sandy Ewens from FormaServe once again. Here in our seventh module, we'll be continuing our bite-sized training on writing bash scripts on our IBM I. In this section of bash scripting tutorial, we will take a look at how we can customize bash and make it more interesting and provide us with useful information, all very useful. If you missed our previous video in this series, creating menus with bash, it can be found on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to my channel to be notified of when our next video in this series has been released. In this module, we will be covering how we can customize our bash session. I will be covering how we can go from boring bash to something more easy on our eyes and show some useful information to make us more productive. All very handy. Let's get on with this topic of customizing our bash session. The first topic we're going to talk about in this bash series is how we customize our bash prompt. Here we can see the standard prompt we get when we start a bash session on our IBM I. All pretty boring to be honest, so let me improve that. The first thing we have to know, there is a special variable called PS1 or prompt script 1 to give it its correct title. There are other PS variables, 2 to 4, that are not used that widely, so we will only concentrate on PS1. I can change my bash prompt at any time by just setting the PS1 variable. Here I will set it to say, "Hello Andy." Aha, very nice. One thing to say about this special variable, by setting it this way, it does not save the prompt. The next time we sign on, it will revert back to what it was before I changed it. Very similar to adding a library to your library list before running a job. The next time you sign on, it will not remember that library list entry. I will show you how to make this permanent a bit later on in this course. There are special variables we can use in our prompt. They are /d to show the current date, /e the escape character, more on that a bit later, /h the host name, so the name of our IBM I, /n for a new line, /t the current time in the 24-hour clocks, hours, minutes and seconds, /T for the time in a 12-hour clock, /@ the time in the 12-hour clock with a suffix of AM or PM, /u the current user, /w for the current working directory, same as PWD. Going back a couple of minutes to where I set my prompt to say "Hello Andy," where I hard-coded the Andy, I could replace it with PS1 equals hello/u. And that says "Hello Andy." That's a lot better, as it will work for any user. Let us take this a stage further. PS1 equals /u :/h and a space /d/t space /w and then the arrow sign and a space. It shows the user, then a colon and the host name. It puts a space, date, space, time, the current working directory, then the right arrow. Moving on to how we color code our prompt. Again, more special characters. Firstly, to use colors, we have to tell bash there are color codes by using /square bracket start for the colors and /closing square bracket at the end of the colors. These are known as non-printing sequence. The color codes are /e square bracket 30M is black, /e square bracket 31M is red, and 32M is green, 33M is yellow, 34M is blue, 35M is magenta, 36 is cyan, and 37 is white. Sometimes you see the /e at the beginning of each of those colours replaced with a /033. They both work. Use your favourite and stick to it. One thing to remember when setting the colours on your prompt is that these may be overwritten to any colour theming that your terminal may be using. These are the basic colours. There are more, I bet you can find them. If I add a slash square bracket E square bracket 33M slash ending a close bracket to the beginning of the prompt, it will just set everything to yellow. If I want to reset the colour before the end arrow, we enter the reset colour code, which is slash E square bracket 00M. Let me put that at the end, and now you can see the whole prompt is yellow except the end arrow, which is white, my default colour. Can I remember all these codes? No, not by a long way. Thankfully, I don't change my prompt very often, but yes, I do have to look up the codes if I want to change it. So now we can really customise our bash prompt by putting the information in it which we need and colour code it to make it easier on the eyes. All for that. For the next example, let's take things a bit further. We are going to do a couple of things with our prompt now. We're going to add a couple of emojis at the start of the prompt. A smiley face if the bash command completed successfully, and a sad face if it completes with errors. We will be using an if statement within our prompt to achieve this. The rest of the prompt will change colours for each part of the prompt it displays, just to give you an example. And yes, we did cover if statements and return codes in a previous video in this bite-sized training set on bash. I'll open up VS Code to show you this, as it's easier to explain there. Let me just say, all the examples of prompts in this video will be added to my GitHub repo. The link is in the description. Firstly, we're going to export PS1 so it's available to all later processes. Then we have an if statement checking if the variable $? is greater than 0. This is checking if the bash statement you key in completes successfully or not. If it is greater than 0, it means an error has occurred, so then print in red a sad face icon. Then else, which means the bash completed successfully, use green print a smiley face icon. We then end the if statement with an FI. Don't worry about the X values there, they are just the values for the icons. Then on the next line, print the current user in black, the @ sign in red, the host name in green, then a space, the date in yellow, the time in blue, the current working directory in magenta, the arrow sign in cyan, and finally we reset the colours back to normal with a 00M/ code and wrap the statement up in closing quote marks. Let's see what we get with that. I'll cut and paste my VS Code example into bash. That's all looking good. If I type an invalid bash command, I'll get a sad face. If I type in a valid command, I'll get a good smiling face. All looks good to me. As I said earlier in this video, setting our bash prompt in this manner only uses it for the current session. If we sign off, it reverts back to its normal prompt, back to boring. Here I will show you how we can keep our bash prompt so it stays constant every time we sign onto a new session. For this next demo, I'll connect to our IBM I as one of our users that doesn't have any customization on his profile. I'm sure you all know my favourite user by now, James Riddle, or Jimmy Riddle. I'll be using him for the rest of the video. I'll start an SSH session, jriddle@Galatea. And here we can see the boring bash prompt. If I do an ls, we can see some files already there, but there is no .profile file. We can create the .profile file, which gets called every time Jimmy signs on by running an echo path equals qopenSys packages bin into our home.profile file, which sets the path for all open source packages on the IBM I. Then a echo export path into that $home.profile file. If I cat it, we can check what's in it. Just a couple of lines. Let me open up this file in VS Code as it's easier to edit in there. I'll paste the PS1 variable into there that we had previously. I'll start a new session, SSH Riddle at Galatea. And here we can see the new prompt that gets set every time we start a new session. And now we have a decent prompt that gets set when we log on. What else can we do with it? There are a couple of things I'll show you. The first is how we can put GIT branch information into the prompt. This is a great addition to all those working with open source. Knowing what GIT branch you're working on is essential. We will place the name of the current GIT branch in brackets at the end of our prompt so it stands out. If we are not using Git in the current working directory, nothing will be output. Let me switch over to my favourite editor, VS Code, and take you through how we can place the GIT branch in our prompt. Firstly, we will make a bash function to work out what GIT branch we are on. We will call this function parseGitBranch. When this function is called, it executes just one line of code, running the git branch command to output the name of the branch. Don't worry too much about this line. If you want to see what it does, just run the line on a command line to see its output. Remember, this function has to be above where the function is called. It cannot be below. That's the git branch function sorted. Now we need to place it within the PS1 variable. Here we can see where I placed it. Firstly, the color code of red, which is 31M, then call the parseGitBranch function, then reset the color. That is all the coding required to place the GIT branch at the end of our prompt in red so it stands out. The next enhancement we are going to add is a second line to our prompt and a fancy arrow to show where the cursor is expecting your input. To show this fancy arrow, you must be using what they call a nerd font. What a great name. These can be found at nerdfonts.com. I'm using the font called Meslo LGM Nerd Font for my terminal. You should be able to use any of these nerd fonts for this. So firstly, a color code of 32, which is green, and then we add the line down and right character, and then the pointing right arrow and finish off with a color reset. And that is our terminal prompt finished. Let's have a look to see what we get. Let me start an SSH session for Jimmy. And here we can see the new prompt. Looks good. A smiley face to begin with, and then the user and host, current date and time, and the current working directory, showing a wiggle to say that I'm in my home directory. If I change over to our directory that is using Git, such as powerwire/f_weather for our weather application, we can see the full directory name and in brackets the current Git branch we are in. And to test our faces at the beginning of the line, I'll type an invalid bash command and we can see the prompt has changed to a sad one. Very useful. And that wraps up our 7th module on BASH, Customising BASH on the IBM I. I hope you enjoyed it. Look out for our next topic in this mini-series of BASH scripting, which will be on everything specific to IBM I on BASH. Subscribe to our channel so you'll be informed when this next video is available. The link is in the description of this video. Take care. If you need any further details about open source or IBM I, check out all our videos at learning.formaserve.co.uk and the articles we have written for powerwire.eu. I hope you find them useful and let us know if there are any other topics you want us to cover. Even through these difficult times, my company, FormaServe, is still providing training on our favourite platform, the IBM I. Whether it's remotely, through a mask, we are still here for you. If it's traditional programming using RPG and CL, or the modern methods of integrating open source into your infrastructure, we are here to help. We have over 30 years of teaching on the IBM I. Why not use us to get up to date and be at the forefront of the post-pandemic world? FormaServe uses Microsoft Teams software to develop top-notch training material. Take a look. You will not be disappointed. As many students have found, all our training is very informal. It's the way to learn. Find out what it's like to have fun while training. And that wraps up this quick video. Thank you for watching our how-to on IBM I video set. I hope you found them useful. Keep checking out our website learning.formaserve.co.uk and our YouTube channel. We regularly add new ones. Stay safe and we'll see you soon. Thank you.